if you're, you know, a pop figure, you know what I mean, like in this world.
Like Marilyn Manson, who you do, and Jessica Simpson, and Sarah Palin, I guess she's. But you can see why, if you do Sarah Palin, people might think, oh, he wants to make a statement about Sarah Palin or American politics.
I want to nail her, but
if anyone's gonna, I think you got a good chance.
Picture this: two rap giants, brothers under Dr. Dre's empire, suddenly turning on each other. Snoop Dogg took the mic and fired shots straight at Eminem's legacy, boldly saying he could live without his music. That one comment flipped the whole hip-hop scene upside down. Fans were shocked, ready for lyrical war, because this wasn't just a small disagreement. It was a full-on betrayal between two legends who once shared stages, tours, and even the same label roots. The tension started quietly, almost by accident. Back in July 2020, Snoop hit up the Breakfast Club and dropped a bomb that left the culture spinning. He said Eminem, the very artist Dr. Dre built from scratch into a worldwide icon, didn't even make his top 10 rappers list. And if that wasn't enough, he said he could live without Eminem's music. That line hit like a slap to the face and instantly went viral. The internet lost its mind. People couldn't believe it. How could Snoop, who had performed, toured, and even worked closely with M, suddenly talk like his music didn't matter? The contradiction was wild. Snoop didn't just question Eminem's talent. He basically gave all the credit to Dr. Dre, saying M was a product of Dre's genius instead of a self-made lyrical powerhouse. He even name-dropped legends from the 80s, Rakim and Ice Cube, suggesting Eminem couldn't stand next to their greatness. Yet somehow, in the same breath, he still claimed to have love and respect for the Detroit icon. What a twist. The mixed signals were loud enough to shake the entire rap world. Fans were left spinning, trying to figure it out. Was Snoop taking a real shot? Was it just a bad joke? Or had some hidden tension finally exploded after years of silence? Nobody knew, but the vibe was off, and every hip-hop forum lit up overnight. Eminem, a man known for his sharp precision and never losing his cool, wasn't about to let that slide. By December 2020, he clapped back in the most Eminem way possible, through music, on Zeus, a track from the deluxe edition of Music to Be Murdered By. He slipped in a slick but cutting subliminal line that had everyone's jaws dropping. "Man, dog, you was like a damn god to me," he rapped, then twisted the blade with a cold follow-up. Nah, not really. That line hit like lightning. It wasn't just shade, it was disappointment, raw and personal. The message was crystal clear. Snoop's words didn't just hurt him, they broke something real. What made this clash so wild wasn't only the disses, but the deep history between them. These weren't just two random rappers trading bars. They were Dr. Dre's chosen ones, two icons who had carried his legacy on opposite coasts, linked by loyalty, music, and history. Their bond once symbolized unity between West Coast and Midwest rap, and now it was cracking right in front of everyone's eyes. So when Snoop brushed off Eminem's legacy, it didn't sound like just another opinion. It felt like straight-up betrayal. Eminem, a man who spent decades proving himself in a game that once doubted any white rapper could ever belong, wasn't about to let that slide. His subliminal on Zeus wasn't just a quick jab.
What did it take, do you think, before you got good enough to think, okay, this is working now? How many times did you have bad on-stage experiences?
Maybe a couple.
So not that
pretty
many.
Awesome.
It was a warning shot, a signal that the piece was officially over. The gloves were off, and things were about to get real. Fans went into full detective mode, analyzing every lyric, every Instagram caption, every interview snippet, trying to catch even the smallest clue. The energy online was crazy. Then Snoop, always moving like a chess player, hinted he might answer back. He dropped a post saying Eminem should pray he don't respond. That line alone sent chills through the culture. Everyone could feel it. The air was heavy, the tension thick, and the stakes had never been higher. But here's where things got darker. This wasn't just about two rap legends bumping heads. It started touching old wounds, the kind of secrets people only whisper about. Some fans began connecting dots between Snoop's comments and deeper hip-hop history, the hidden rivalries, the missing pieces from rap's golden age. Eminem's response started sounding like more than a diss track. It was like he was pulling at something buried. Listeners claimed he was hinting about Tupac's passing, Diddy's alleged ties, and the powerful forces that shaped hip-hop's darkest stories. Suddenly, it didn't feel like a feud anymore. It felt like the beginning of a bigger truth bubbling to the surface. The questions were piling up fast, and nobody was ready for where it could lead. Was Snoop's diss really about Eminem's skills, or was it covering up something much bigger? Fans couldn't help but wonder if this was more than just pride or ego. Could Eminem's response have been a secret message, hinting at the hidden hands behind hip-hop's most mysterious and tragic moments? The questions hit like shockwaves, and nobody could ignore them. In rap, we've seen this story 100 times. Beefs heat up, diss tracks drop, and the culture eats it up. But this time, the vibe felt different. Snoop Dogg isn't just another rapper. He's connected to the roots of Death Row, to Suge Knight, and to the very era when Tupac Shakur lost his life in Las Vegas. That history runs deep, and everyone knows those names still carry weight in the streets. Then there's Eminem, a man who's never shied away from mentioning the dark corners of hip-hop's past. He's built whole verses laced with clues and cryptic lines about Diddy, Keith D, and the mysterious power players tied to rap's bloodiest events. So when he dropped that bar, I ain't trying to beef with him cause he might put a hit on me like Keith D did, fans went wild. That wasn't just a punchline, it sounded like a straight-up warning. It reminded everyone that in hip-hop, some feuds go deeper than pride. They can touch survival itself. And here's where things get even more chilling. While Snoop and M were trading subliminals in 2020, the world was watching another storm unfold. The resurfacing of Keith D, the man tied to one of rap's darkest chapters. The timing was no coincidence, and the tension was through the roof. The man long suspected in Tupac's death, Keith D, was finally charged, sending shockwaves through hip-hop. And right as that news broke, Suge Knight, speaking from behind prison walls, started hinting that Snoop might have known more about Tupac's downfall than anyone realized. Around the same time, Diddy's name started popping back up too, in lawsuits, leaked hotel clips, and strange whispers about threats and cover-ups. Suddenly, those bars from Eminem didn't sound like random disses anymore. They felt like warnings, like he was piecing together something everyone else had ignored. Snoop's silence during all this, that spoke volumes. Fans began asking themselves, was this whole feud ever about a simple top 10 rappers list? Or had it always been about the ghosts still haunting hip-hop's golden years? The tension was unreal, and people were waiting for the next move. But then came a twist nobody saw coming. Right when everyone expected a full-blown lyrical war, the story flipped. Out of nowhere, Snoop and Eminem squashed it, quietly and smoothly. No big public apology, no sit-down interviews, no dramatic moment on stage. Just a private phone call, a surprise collaboration, and then, boom. They showed up side by side at the Super Bowl halftime show. The piece felt too perfect, too easy, almost like it was planned. Fans couldn't stop speculating. Did Dr. Dre's health scare bring them back together, or did they uncover something heavier, something that made both men realize this fight wasn't worth the cost? Because in hip-hop, when legends like Snoop and M suddenly call a truce, it's never just about the music. It's about the secrets they choose not to reveal. And here's where it really gets wild, because while the world saw peace, insiders swear there's way more beneath the surface.
Deep, where I'm going with this, Snoop, stop letting these people use you, man.
They whisper about secret talks that never made it to headlines, private calls that changed everything, and unspoken agreements between Snoop and M about what not to reveal. Whatever went down behind those closed doors, it wasn't just about respect, it was about silence, about keeping certain truths buried deep. Then came Eminem's newest project, The Death of Slim Shady. On the surface, it sounded like another comeback. But listen closer, and the chills start creeping in. He wasn't just calling out Diddy. He was circling right back to the same dark themes, the same unsolved mysteries, and the same names that keep floating through hip-hop's most haunted stories. Each verse felt like a coded message, a reminder that some things in this game never really die. The real question now isn't just why they beefed or even why they made up. It's what do they know? What truths are they keeping tucked away, waiting for the right moment to drop? Because if hip-hop history has taught us anything, it's that the biggest feuds aren't just fueled by ego. They're built on power, control, and who gets to tell the story. So when two icons like Snoop and Eminem suddenly decide to end a war before it fully erupts, you gotta wonder, what did they see coming that the rest of the world didn't? Maybe the answers are hiding in the lyrics, in those cryptic interviews, in the off-record talks that never reached the mic. But one thing's clear. This saga isn't over, not even close, because in hip-hop, the past never stays buried, and the ones who know the truth, they're still talking, just not to us. The real turning point hit in January 2021, when Dr. Dre, the man who built empires out of raw talent, was rushed to the hospital after suffering a brain aneurysm. The entire hip-hop world froze. As Dre fought for his life in the ICU, something changed deep between Snoop and Eminem. The energy shifted from tension to reflection. People close to the situation say private calls were made and heartfelt apologies went down. The pride that once kept them apart suddenly didn't matter anymore. Snoop later opened up during an interview on Rolling Stone Music Now, admitting he personally reached out to Eminem and said, "I was wrong, bro. Do you forgive me?" That line hit hard. Real emotion, no ego, just honesty. The reunion felt real, almost cleansing. But still, something about it seemed too perfect. The timing was fast, almost suspiciously so, because not long before Dre's health scare, Eminem had spent months explaining exactly why Snoop's comments hit so deep. He said that music I can live without jab wasn't just shade, it was flat out disrespectful. So fans couldn't help but ask, why the sudden flip? Was this really about love and forgiveness? Or did Dre's condition push them into making peace for a bigger reason? Insiders started whispering that the feud was never really about a top 10 list at all. They claim it went back to something behind the scenes, a collaboration that crashed and burned. Apparently, Snoop had wanted M on a track, but the communication got twisted somewhere along the line. Eminem later explained on Shade 45 that the message he got wasn't a clear invite. It came off wrong, almost like pressure instead of partnership. One misread move, and the whole situation spiraled. So maybe the real question isn't just why they made up, but what exactly went wrong before that phone call. Because in hip-hop, beefs don't always start over bars. Sometimes it's what happens off the mic that blows everything up. Snoop's crew allegedly took Eminem's response the wrong way. They thought it was a flat-out rejection. He thought that meant I didn't mess with him, Eminem later explained, trying to clear the air. Case closed, right? Not exactly, because if it was truly just a misunderstanding, why did that tension keep brewing for months? Why did Eminem keep dropping subtle shots, not once, but multiple times, across music to be murdered by? That Zeus verse alone, where he flipped God to dog, was like a lyrical knife twist. Even after the apology, fans could still feel something wasn't fully right. The chemistry was off, the energy strange, like peace had been made on paper, not in spirit. Then came 2024, and with it, Eminem's album, The Death of Slim Shady. That's when the ghosts of the old feud came crawling right back, and this time, they brought chills. On the track, Antichrist, Eminem didn't just come for Diddy, he dropped bars that had people rewinding and decoding like detectives. He spelled out R-A-P-E-R, leaving out just two letters, P and A, a move so deliberate it screamed, hidden message. Then he followed with a savage line, next asked me, is getting his beat worse than Diddy did? Before hitting with, she probably ran out the room with his, and stopping cold. The reference was impossible to miss. The 2016 hotel footage of Diddy's assault on Cassie Ventura, a scandal that had just resurfaced in lawsuits and raids. But M didn't stop there. He doubled down on another track, Fuel. He rapped, rest in peace, Biggie and Shakur. Both of y'all should be living, before dropping the bomb that shook everyone. He might put a hit on me like Keith D did. That line connected the dots straight back to one of hip-hop's darkest legends, Keith D, the man accused of orchestrating Tupac's 1996 shooting and the uncle of Orlando Anderson, the man who was right there that night in Vegas. It was more than a diss. It felt like Eminem was cracking open the vault of hip-hop's buried secrets, one verse at a time. The same Keith D who managed to walk free for decades while Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg built entire empires off Tupac Shakur's legacy. His name was suddenly back in the mix. And once again, the whispers turned toward what really happened that fateful night in Vegas. Now let's connect the dots, because Suge Knight, even from behind bars, hasn't kept quiet. From his Collect Call podcast, he's been sending shockwaves through the culture, especially when it comes to Snoop. Suge flat out said Snoop's got a lot of explaining to do about that Vegas night. And he didn't stop there. He called for a face-to-face with Snoop saying, if it's true what they say, there's gonna be a lot of explaining.
And he was gang related, so it was like our first meeting was on bad terms because we were still gang affiliated and we were using gang terminology on the intro.
That line hit like thunder, leaving fans asking, what exactly did Suge mean? The rumors are wild. One claim says Snoop warned Daz Dillinger ahead of time, telling him something's gonna happen in Vegas, basically warning him to stay clear. Then there's another piece that's always raised eyebrows. Despite being close to Shakur, Snoop reportedly never went to the hospital after the shooting. He only showed up after Tupac had already passed. That silence, that absence, has always left fans wondering why. And then comes the whole hit 'em up controversy. Snoop once admitted he didn't like the diss track Tupac made against Biggie, said he thought it was just buying problems. That alone flips the script. If Snoop really felt that way, was he trying to stay neutral in the East Coast versus West Coast war? Or was he already pulling away from Tupac in those final days? The contradictions keep stacking up, and the deeper you look, the messier it gets. Was it fear, guilt, or something much darker? That's the question that keeps echoing, especially when you start breaking down Eminem's lyrics, because they sound less like disses and more like a coded map. When he spits, the bomb with the puffy on, in Bad One, it's not random. It's a pointed line tied to Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, the one where she claimed Diddy threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car after finding out Cudi was seeing her. That's not just rap talk, that's straight from real-life headlines. So why drag Snoop into all this? Because the ties between Snoop and Diddy run deep and messy. After Tupac's death, Snoop shocked everyone by reconciling with Biggie and Puff, calling them friends in interviews. That move changed everything. It blurred the lines between loyalty and legacy. And yet, here's Eminem years later, rapping lines like, "He might put a hit on me like Keith D did," as if reminding everyone that Diddy's circle still carries danger. So the real question becomes, if Snoop did know something about Tupac's death, or even suspected Diddy had a hand in it, would he really risk reopening that wound? Or was that sudden feud with Eminem just smoke and mirrors, a distraction from the questions nobody dares to ask about Death Row's darkest days? Then came 2022, and Snoop made his boldest move ever. He bought Death Row Records, the same label Tupac bled for, the empire Suge Knight built off pain, loyalty, and betrayal. The same catalog that holds All Eyes on Me, the project Tupac recorded while, allegedly, Snoop was starting to distance himself. On paper, it looked like a full-circle victory, a legend reclaiming his roots, bringing the brand back home. But not everyone was celebrating. Insiders whispered something different, that Snoop's takeover wasn't just business, it was strategy. Some even claimed it was about control, about locking down the past before the truth could fully surface. And that's when people started wondering, was Snoop really reclaiming his legacy, or was he rewriting it? Control. That's what it all comes down to. Because when you own the vault, you own the story. You decide which tracks see daylight and which ones stay locked away forever. You decide which legends get celebrated and which truths stay buried. And Snoop, the same man who once called Tupac his brother, the same man who fainted in that hospital room after Pac was shot, now runs the very label Tupac died representing. Yet even with that power, he's never responded to Suge Knight's call for an explanation about that night in Vegas. The silence says a lot. Instead of addressing those ghosts, Snoop's been back on stage beside Eminem, smiling under bright lights at events like the Super Bowl halftime show, acting like all that drama is just ancient history. But those who study the culture know better. Psychologists who've analyzed the tight-knit, family-style dynamics of hip-hop say that these feuds rarely come down to pure ego. They're about survival. The game has always been about hierarchy, dominance, and respect, and when someone tries to knock you down that ladder, it hits deep. So when Snoop dismissed Eminem's legacy in that 2020 interview, it wasn't just casual criticism, it was a power move. For Eminem, a man who spent his entire career fighting to prove he belonged in a genre that once looked at him as an outsider, that hit harder than any diss track. That kind of public dismissal wasn't just an insult, it was an existential threat to everything he'd built. And on the flip side, maybe Snoop's words weren't just about M's talent at all. Maybe they came from somewhere deeper, a place of quiet insecurity. Because while Snoop became a global icon through business deals, TV shows, and his now famous wellness brand, Eminem never left the rap throne. He stayed the lyrical heavyweight, the guy who could still shake the culture with a single verse. So it begs the question, was Snoop's diss really about Eminem's skill, or was it about something more personal? A reminder that in the game of hip-hop, even legends feel the pressure when another legend refuses to fade. Or maybe it wasn't just about ego. Maybe it was about a legend watching his cultural footprint slowly fade while his former protege's star refused to dim. That's the uncomfortable truth nobody wanted to say out loud. And when you look at the timing of how the feud ended,
It's only happening in Long Beach right now as far as me doing something for the community because that's where my heart lies at as far as straightening out my own neighborhood before I go elsewhere.
the picture starts to clear up. Dr. Dre's 2021 brain aneurysm didn't just scare Snoop and Eminem into reconnecting. It forced both of them to face something real. Their back and forth wasn't helping their legacy, it was hurting it. In a culture that celebrates power, dominance, and loyalty, they were starting to look divided, weak even. And that's something no hip-hop heavyweight can afford. But here's the twist. Eminem didn't just walk away quietly. On the death of Slim Shady, his bars showed that he had flipped the script. Instead of continuing the beef, he turned it into a weapon, dropping lyrics that hinted at Diddy's alleged violence and the shadowy details around Tupac's death. Those weren't just random shots, they were statements. It was like he was saying, I know things. And in hip-hop, that's the ultimate form of power, information. Psychologically, this wasn't just a clapback, it was a strategy, a negotiation without words. Eminem was making it clear that he wasn't just another name on Snoop's radar. He was someone holding cards nobody else dared to touch. Every bar sounded like a warning wrapped in rhythm. So then the question becomes, did Snoop truly want peace? Or did he realize Eminem was ready to push boundaries no one else would cross? Because right after the tension died down, something interesting happened. The money started moving again. Collabs popped up, tracks dropped, and suddenly, there it was. From the D to the L, B, C. The feud that once looked like it could destroy everything ended up becoming a business move. Proof that in hip-hop, even bad blood can turn into a payday if you play it right. Their 2022 track wasn't just a feel-good reunion, it was a power move, a public reminder that when Snoop and Eminem stand side by side, there's still a force hip-hop can't ignore. But according to insiders, the real reason behind the collab wasn't about creativity, it was about cash. With Dr. Dre's empire still running the industry behind the scenes, and both Snoop and M forever tied to his legacy, keeping things cool made more financial sense than keeping up a feud. Because let's be real, a prolonged war between two of Dre's biggest proteges would have been bad business. Missed deals, lost endorsements, canceled projects, the whole brand would have taken a hit. So when Snoop and M shared the stage at the Super Bowl, that wasn't just entertainment, that was strategy. It was a billion-dollar reminder that, drama or not, they were still the kings of rap's golden age. But here's where it gets sketchy. If this truce was really just business, why did Eminem suddenly go quiet about Tupac's passing? Why did the bars aimed at Diddy disappear from his verses right after the reunion? Did the checks clear, or did someone behind the curtain convince him that the truth was bad for business? The silence hit louder than any diss could. And it gets even deeper when you add Snoop's massive 2022 move, buying Death Row Records. That wasn't just nostalgia, that was strategy. By owning Death Row, Snoop didn't just inherit history, he took command of it. With that deal, he gained control over Tupac's unreleased material, the vault that holds pieces of hip-hop's most controversial legacy. Suddenly, it wasn't just about music anymore, it was about control, power, and protecting the narrative that keeps the empire intact. And in a game where music catalogs are worth millions, that kind of ownership means power. It's pure leverage, the kind that can rewrite history if used right. But here's the real question. If Snoop truly wanted to honor Tupac's memory, why hasn't he addressed Suge Knight's public claims? Why hasn't he cleared up what really went down before that deadly night in Vegas? The silence is deafening, and it says more than any statement ever could. Because in hip-hop, money moves everything. When the checks are big enough, even the deepest grudges can disappear overnight. But the past, it never really stays buried. Not in this industry. It lingers, waiting for cracks to show, especially when the players involved still have things they'd rather keep hidden. And that brings everything full circle, right back to Eminem's silence. Think about it. If this was all just about business, a simple truce to keep the money flowing, then why does it still feel like parts of the story are missing? Eminem didn't just stop throwing shots at Snoop, he stopped addressing everything that once made his verses so explosive. No more talk about Diddy's alleged crimes. No more cryptic lines about Keith D or the secrets behind Tupac's murder. The same rapper who once dropped bombs that shook the whole culture suddenly went quiet. Too quiet. So what changed? Was the money too good to risk? Or did someone convince him that the truth was just too dangerous to speak out loud? Because if Eminem really knows something about what happened to Tupac, if he's sitting on information that could flip hip-hop history upside down, then his silence isn't peace. It's leverage, a quiet kind of power. The kind that says, I know more than I'll ever say. In a world where power rules everything, the real question isn't whether Snoop and Eminem made peace, it's what they're still not saying. Because the silence since their reunion has been almost eerie. No more diss tracks, no subliminals, no cryptic bars about Diddy, Keith D, or the bomb with the puffy on. Just quiet. Too quiet. The piece feels too perfect, almost rehearsed, like a script written to protect something bigger. And that's where the doubt creeps in. If Eminem truly believed Snoop had any ties to Tupac's death, if he really thought Diddy's circle was still dangerous, would he honestly just let it slide? Or could this truce be part of the bigger game? Another chess move designed to keep the real secrets sealed up tight, buried right where they've always been. Because let's face it, in hip-hop, the loudest wars aren't the ones dropped on wax. The real battles happen in silence, in the backroom deals, the private calls, and the stories that never make it to the mic. What we see on stage is just the show, but what happens off stage? That's where the truth hides. And so, here we are, two rap icons, standing shoulder to shoulder on the world's biggest stage, grinning for cameras like nothing ever happened. The brotherhood looks real, the smiles look genuine, the history looks forgiven, but the questions refuse to die. The lyrics still whisper, the podcast still hint, and somewhere out there, Suge Knight, calling from his prison cell, is still waiting for that one conversation the world might never get to hear. So tell us this, when Snoop and Eminem hugged it out under those bright Super Bowl lights, were we really witnessing the end of a feud or the beginning of a cover-up? Because in hip-hop, the past doesn't fade away. It sticks to you, shaping every lyric, every move, every alliance. And if these two legends know more than they're letting on, then maybe the so-called Cold War between them never truly ended. Maybe it just slipped underground, hidden behind smiles and sold-out shows. Think about it. Eminem's bars once shook the culture. Now his silence screams even louder. Snoop reclaimed death row, but was it to protect Tupac's legacy? Or to lock the truth away for good? These moves don't happen by accident. Not in this game, not with these names. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Were Eminem's disses simple clapbacks or coded warnings about what really went down? Did Snoop buy death row to honor history or to bury it forever? Drop your theories in the comments because this saga is far from over. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and keep your ears to the streets because the next bombshell could drop any second. If you're loving these deep dives, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep this story alive. We'll be back soon with the next revelation. Until then, stay dangerous.